In this video, we'll show you how to install an aftermarket HD14 Stage 5 on a 2015 Road Glide. Now the first thing we need to do is make sure you have the radio flashed by an authorized Rockford Fosgate dealer. We have a list of dealers that can flash on our website. The stock radio contains an excessive EQ curve preset by the factory. Now this is fine for factory setups, but with the high performance aftermarket system, you need to remove that EQ curve. This will allow you to experience the full potential of your high performance aftermarket system. Okay, get started by removing the seat using a number 2 screwdriver. We'll then use a 1/2-inch socket to move the ECU cradle out of the way to access the battery. Once that's done, you can use a 10mm socket or Phillips screwdriver to disconnect the battery terminals. All right, now we're ready to remove the fairing. We'll start by using a Phillips screwdriver to remove the front windshield. Then remove the air vent diverter and disconnect both marker light harnesses. We'll use a 3/16 Allen driver to remove 2 bolts from both marker lights. Now we'll move to the inside fairing and use a T25 Torx driver to remove the 2 bolts on each side, holding the lower air deflectors in place. Then we'll use a plastic pry tool to pop out the grills and remove the 2 remaining bolts. It's best to have 2 people for this step, one to hold the fairing in position and the other to remove the screws. Now that the fairing is off, we'll remove the headlight assembly. Use a long reach 3/16 Allen driver to remove 4 bolts from the assembly. Decouple any connectors attached to the headlight, then pull down the headlight and detach the wiring harness. Okay, now we're ready to remove our speakers. To get started, use a T25 Torx driver to remove 4 screws from each speaker. Remove the speaker and detach the harnesses. Save the hardware for installation of our new speakers later on. Okay, now that we have that done, we're ready to remove the gas tank. We'll get started by disconnecting the gas line. Push up on the hose and while sliding the fitting upward, pull down on the gas line. Use a 1/2-inch socket to remove the 2 bolts in the back, then disconnect the electrical harnesses and pull the 2 breather lines. Note that they might be zip tied underneath. Detach the rubber boot from the front of the gas tank and use a 1/2-inch socket to remove the bolt. Repeat the process on the other side. Then once you're done, carefully remove the gas tank from the motorcycle. All right, we're ready to install our power harness. First, cut any zip ties off and unsnap the wiring trough cover. Once that's done, we'll take the power connector side of our harness and run it up the clutch side of the motorcycle. We'll route our harness through the main opening up to the headlight area, following the factory wiring harness. Make sure you have enough slack to make your battery and amplifier connections. All right, we're ready to prep for installation of our amplifier. We recommend removing the radio since it's easier to install our bracket. To get started, we'll disconnect the wiring from the back of the radio. Now we suggest taking a photo with your mobile device so you can remember where each connector attaches. Once that's done, use a 3/16 Allen driver to remove 4 bolts securing the radio in place. Remove the radio, being careful not to scratch the front bezel. We're making progress and we're ready to prep our amplifier bracket. Using the T-bracket and heatsink, flip the T-bracket over and align it with the screw locations noted on the bottom of the heatsink labeled 2015 Road Glide. Note the bracket and heatsink orientation. Then use a 2mm Allen and flathead screws to secure the bracket to the heatsink. Now we're ready to prep the amplifier. Start by removing the power connector harness from the amplifier using the included Allen wrench. Attach the new 90-degree harness, noting it can only be installed one way. Ensure the harness is fully seated and secure it into place. Okay, now that we're done with that, we're ready to tune our amplifier. We offer an amp tuning guide that's available in the description of this video and through this kit's product details page at rockfordfosgate.com. Use the included 3mm Allen wrench to remove the control cover. Then use the tuning guide to verify all your settings are correct. A minimal adjustment should be needed to tune the amp. Once done, reinstall the cover. Now we're ready to secure the amplifier to the amplifier bracket using the supplied hardware and a 2.5mm Allen driver. Before installing the amplifier, note the orientation of the Rockford Fosgate logo in relation to the larger side of the heatsink. All right, now we're ready to mount the amplifier. Start by flipping the amplifier over with the 90-degree angle connector toward the inside. Slide the amplifier into place with the lip capturing the radio bracket. Use the provided hardware and 8mm socket or wrench to secure the bracket in place. We recommend pre-installing the bolts on the inside before tightening the nuts on the outside. Okay, now we're ready to reinstall our radio. Carefully reinsert the radio, making sure not to scratch the faceplate or bezel. Then secure it into place using the previously removed bolts and 3/16 Allen wrench. Refer to your earlier photo on your mobile device and replace each connector on the rear of the radio. All right, now we're ready to install our T-harness that allows us to interface our Rockford Fosgate audio with the Harley-Davidson electrical system. Plug the T-harness into the rear of the radio and lock the connector in place. Take the factory connector and plug it into the female side of the T-harness and click it into place as well. Okay, we're ready to make our amplifier connections. We'll start with the amp input harness and connect the front and rear to the corresponding amp inputs. Next, connect the Y adapters to the amplifier's front out and rear out connectors. Take the T-harness labeled amp output and attach these to the corresponding amplifier's front out Y adapter and rear out Y adapter. You can use either end of the Y adapter. Finally, plug the power into the amplifier connector and plug the blue wire into the empty connector on the top brake side. This blue wire is the amplifier remote turn on. Take note that there is likely an empty plug that needs to be removed before making your connection. Now, if this plug is occupied with another accessory, relocate the accessory item to pull power from one of the other connectors available. Now we're ready to install our speakers. Connect the factory speaker wires to the new speakers, noting the white wire is positive and the black wire is negative. Align the speakers by orienting the Rockford Fosgate logo toward the bottom. Use the hardware previously used and secure the speaker in place using a T25 Torx driver. All right, we're ready to prepare our bag lids for speaker installation. To get started, we'll use 3M masking tape to cover the top of the bag lid so we don't scratch the paint. Position the template on top, making sure the front lip of the template is sitting firmly against the ridge of the bag lid. Then mark the 2 pilot holes on top. Remove the template and use a 1/8 inch drill bit to drill 2 holes. Secure the template in place using a number 2 Phillips and the small screws provided in the kit. Our new and improved template makes this easier to perform this task right on the motorcycle. All right, now that we have that done, we'll use a 5/16 bit to drill our pilot holes. Using a saw with a fine-tooth blade, follow along the template while staying within the guides. To maintain accuracy, do not cut the segment of the template until all the slots have been cut. Cutting into the template will lead to fitment issues, especially around the corners. Once you're done, remove the template and clean up the cutouts, making sure there are no burrs around the edges, and test fit our grill. Once you're happy with the fitment, remove the masking tape and repeat the process on the other side. Now we're ready to install our speakers. First, we'll open the bag lid and position the mounting ring and grill in place to make sure that they are properly aligned. The grill goes on the outside and our mounting ring on the inside, where we'll sandwich them together to the bag lid. Using a number 2 Phillips, secure 4 of the smaller screws supplied in the kit. Be careful not to over tighten these. Once that's done, we'll align the speaker and basket protector assembly with the speaker terminals facing toward the rear of the bike. Then secure it to the mounting ring from the inside using 4 long flanged button head screws. Once you're done, repeat the process on the other side. Now we're ready to prep our saddlebags for the subwoofer installation. First, we recommend removing both clutch and brake side saddlebags from the motorcycle. Then use a T25 and T27 to remove the fabric hinge cover and 2 inner hinge screws. Now be careful to support the bag lid so it doesn't fall and scratch your bag. If you've never taken these off before, be careful removing the screws as to not strip the heads, as they can have thread lock on them. The subwoofer portion of this kit includes 2 boxes in the overpack. They're labeled brake and clutch side. Open the clutch side box first. This contains most of the parts for the install. Pull out the template, grills, and the blister pack of screws and put the rest aside for now. Just like the bag lid speaker install, we recommend to tape the surrounding area to protect your paint. The cutting template provides all the locations that are needed to be drilled and cut. Now you'll notice the blister pack has hardwares for both saddlebags. Remove 4 of the mounting screws that will be used in the center of the template. Press the template tight to the bottom edge to ensure proper placement. Mark and drill a 1/8 inch hole and set your first screw. Then drill the remaining 3 mounting holes and secure them in place. Now we can drill the 3 3/16 inch holes and 1 1/2 inch hole for your pass-through. Then use a 5/16 inch drill bit for your pilot holes. Keep the drill bit straight down and toward the inside of the template. Now this is especially important on the side of the saddlebag that has the ledge. Using a reciprocating saw with a fine-tooth blade, follow along the template while staying within the guides. To maintain accuracy, do not cut the segments of the template until all the slots have been cut. Now cutting into that template will lead to fitment issues, especially around the corners. Now take a moment to clean up your cuts by using a file to remove any burrs or shavings from the cutout. Once you're done, test fit the grill to ensure it properly fits. Okay, now we're ready to mount the grill. Clean the area with isopropyl alcohol, then remove the 3M backing tape and secure the front of the grill in place. Now be careful, you only have one shot at aligning this properly. Remove the 3M tape from the inside backing plate and position it in place as well. Using the grill screws from the blister pack, secure the backing plate using a stubby Phillips screwdriver. Okay, let's take a second to look at the pass-through wiring harness. This contains your Deutsch connector for the subwoofer enclosure, as well as the spade connectors for the bag lid speakers. The pass-through harness is designed to lay across the bottom and up the front corner of your bag. To get started, wipe down the area with isopropyl alcohol. We recommend using 2 of the pass-through screws from your blister pack to hold the harness in place while mounting. Remove each section of 3M tape and secure that in place. We provided the grommet plugs in the blister pack to cover the hole previously occupied by the bag lid harness. If you didn't have bag lid speakers, you won't need these. Next, remove the set screws you installed for the harness first. Clean the area with isopropyl alcohol, then connect your wiring and test fit. Once you're confident with the location, peel the 3M backing tape off and align it with the 3 mounting holes. You can now reinsert the bottom 2 screws and secure the wiring harness. Your top screw will use a washer and a nut. Now that we're done installing the wiring, reinstall the bag lid to the saddlebag and put the bags aside for now. Okay, we're ready to start the subwoofer install on the brake side saddlebag. Just like before, detach the saddlebag lid. Once you're done with that, locate the cutting template pass-through harness and the grills from the brake side box. We'll also need the hole saw from the clutch side box. As you can see, the brake side cutting template has some additional holes that need to be drilled. These are to mount the amplifier's bulkhead. Just like the clutch side, you'll need to protect your paint using masking tape. Remove 4 of the template mounting screws from the blister pack. Press the template tight to the bottom edge to ensure fitment. Then mark and drill a 1/8 inch hole and set your first screw. Once you're done, drill the remaining 3 mounting holes and secure them in place. Now we can pre-drill the 3 3/16 inch holes and the 1/2 inch hole for your pass-through. Once you're done with that, use a 1/8 inch bit to drill the remaining 3 holes located on the other side. Next, use a 5/16 inch drill bit for your pilot holes on the cutting template. Keep the drill bit straight down and toward the inside of the template. Now this is especially important on the side of the saddlebag that has the ledge. Using a reciprocating saw with a fine-tooth blade, follow along the template while staying within the guides. To maintain accuracy, do not cut the segments of the template until all the slots have been cut. Now cutting into the template will lead to fitment issues, especially around the corners. Take a moment to clean up your cuts by using a file to remove any burrs or shavings from the cutout. Once you're done, test fit the grill to ensure it properly fits. Next, align the provided hole saw in the middle of the 3 1/8 inch holes. Note the outer holes are used to secure the bulkhead in place. Carefully cut the hole and check for any burrs that need to be filed down for proper fitment. Okay, now we're ready to mount the grill. Clean the area with isopropyl alcohol and remove the 3M backing tape and secure the front of the grill in place. As mentioned before, be careful because you only have one shot at aligning this properly. Remove the 3M tape from the inside backing plate and position that in place as well. Using the grill screws from the blister pack, secure the backing plate using the stubby Phillips screwdriver. Okay, let's take a second to look at the pass-through wiring harness. This contains your Deutsch connector for the subwoofer enclosure, as well as spade connectors for the bag lid speaker. Using the same process from the clutch side, wipe down the area with isopropyl alcohol. Install the 2 of the pass-through screws from your blister pack to hold the harness in place while you're mounting it. Peel the 3M backing off the first section and adhere it into position. Then, remove each section of 3M tape and secure that section in place. We provided grommet plugs in the blister pack to cover the holes previously occupied by the bag lid harness. If you didn't have bag lid speakers, you won't need these. Now it's time to mount your pass-through retaining bracket. Clean the area with isopropyl alcohol, then connect your wiring and test fit. Once you're confident with the location, peel the 3M backing tape off and align it with the 3 mounting holes. Your top screw will use a washer and a nut. You can now reinsert the bottom 2 screws and secure the wiring harness. All right guys, now you're ready to prep the subwoofer amplifier. Remove the amplifier, brackets, and harness from the clutch side. All right, we want to tune the amplifier before installing it in the saddlebag. Using the provided 3mm Allen wrench, remove the control panel cover. We offer an amp tuning guide that's available in the description of this video and through this kit's product details page at rockfordfosgate.com. Refer to the tuning guide and adjust your settings. Now, once you're done, replace the cover back on the amplifier. Now that you have your amplifier tuned, connect the bulkhead harness to the amplifier and secure it in place using the provided hardware in the box. The amplifier bracket has retaining clips on one end and mounting holes on the other end. Now, slide the amplifier into the bracket retaining clips, noting the orientation of the amplifier in the bracket. Use a 2.5mm Allen driver to secure the amplifier in place using the 2 screws from the blister pack labeled amp bracket screws. Okay, now you want to test fit your bracket in the saddlebag. Be sure to center the amplifier bracket in the saddlebag while leaving about 3/4 of an inch clearance from the bottom of the wiring harness. Clean the surface with isopropyl alcohol, then peel the 3M tape and secure it into place. Now you only have one shot to mount this, so test it properly before mounting it. Next, secure your bulkhead to the saddlebag using 2 screws labeled amp harness in the blister pack. Once you're done mounting the bulkhead, you can reinstall the saddlebag lid. Now we're ready to run our bag lid harness. First, remove both service covers, then route the harness through the trough and up toward the fairing area. Pull the harness through for connection to the amplifier later. Now we'll move to the back of the motorcycle. We'll start with the brake side harness and run it under the seat frame to the rear bag area. We'll zip tie along the frame and the first eyelet. On the clutch side, we'll use a 1/2-inch socket to slightly pull out the fuse panel and route our harness toward the rear bag area. Let's take a look at the harness that's located in the clutch side box. First, we have our bulkhead plug that will connect to our amplifier. Next, the power cables with built-in fuse. Then, the blue amplifier remote turn-on wire with built-in Y adapter. This output cable is used in combination with the Y adapter that splits the rear output signal coming from your source unit. And finally, the Deutsch connector for the subwoofer on the clutch side. All right guys, now we're ready to lay out our harness. We'll start by positioning the bulkhead and Deutsch connectors to the appropriate sides. Then route the sub output connector and remote power through the center trough and up toward the fairing area. Once we pull the harness through, connect the sub out DSR to one of the female connectors on the Y adapter and connect the rear harness from our saddlebag speakers into the other female connector. Next, connect the remaining male end of the Y adapter and plug it into the amplifier's rear in harness. Finally, we'll take our blue amplifier turn-on with built-in Y adapter and run it up to the accessory power connector on the top brake side. Split the existing power connector by plugging in the Y adapter. Now your main and subwoofer amplifiers will have proper turn-on voltage. Now we'll move to the back of the motorcycle. We'll start with the brake side subwoofer bulkhead harness and run it under the seat frame to the rear bag area. We'll loosely zip tie along the frame and the rear eyelets. Do not tighten these yet. On the clutch side, route our harness behind the fuse box toward our rear bag area. Then once that's done, we'll secure our fuse panel using the 1/2-inch socket. Now we can get ready to reinstall our saddlebags. Start by removing the new mounting hardware from the blister pack. Now, starting on the brake side, we'll test fit the saddlebag to make sure the wiring is in the correct location and free from all moving parts. Once you're happy with the wiring, you can tighten all the zip ties. Next, if your motorcycle has quick release saddlebag mounts, we've provided new replacements in the blister pack. Pull down on the retainer clip with some pliers and push in the center tab using a small flathead screwdriver to pop it out. Install the new retainer clip in place. Now, reinstall your service cover and align the saddlebag in place and make your wiring connections. Then secure it to the motorcycle using the new mounting bolts and provided Allen wrench. Finally, connect your speaker harness noting the proper polarity. Connect the red wire to the positive terminal and the black wire to the negative terminal. Finally, install your subwoofer into the saddlebag and make your wiring connection. Now that you're done with the brake side, you're gonna repeat the process on the clutch side of the motorcycle. All right, now that we have that done, we'll clean up our wiring, reinstall the center trough, install our gas tank, and make our battery connections. Now be sure the gas tank harness is connected before proceeding to prevent any error codes. All right, you made it. We're ready to test the system. If you haven't had the factory Harley-Davidson radio flashed, now is the time to do this. Refer to your tuning guide for testing procedures and make any adjustments as needed. If your radio is not flashed, keep the volume to a minimum or you will damage your speakers. You can find a list of dealers that can flash your radio on our website at rockfordfosgate.com/dealer locator. All right, now that everything is working properly, let's finish reassembling your motorcycle and get this Harley back out on the road. All right guys, as you can see, that install is pretty straightforward, but if you prefer a professional do the install for you, we have a network of authorized Rockford Fosgate dealers that can be found on our website. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact our technical support. They can be reached Monday through Friday at 1-800-669-9899 or through live chat at the bottom of our website at rockfordfosgate.com. I'm Eric, and we'll see you again in the next video.